Okay, good morning. I'll call to order the April 5th regular meeting of the Haywood County Board of Commissioners, and our first order of business will be our Pledge of Allegiance, and after that, I guess our pastor isn't here this morning. We'll do a moment of silence. So if everyone please stand for the pledge. Thank you. Okay, our next order of business is public hearings, but we don't have any today. And after that, our next order of business is our public comment session. And I have one person signed up, Mr. Miller, if you want to come forward. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and there's hand sanitizer and wipes up there if you would like to use those. Welcome.
Ever since Brian Moorhead and the county commissioners approved a rule change to skip discussion on consent agenda items, sometimes things get placed in there that simply require more explanation than is provided in the regular agenda. One such item is number 7 on this consent agenda. I'll read it. Request approval of application to the Public School Capital Fund for lottery proceeds to pay for renovation costs of Central Elementary School K-1 building in the amount of $250,000. Tracy Wells provided no information as to this expenditure on the links on the agenda. When this item is reached in your consent agenda items, Chairman Ensley, please do one of the following. Open this for discussion and have the presenter, Christiane Owens, explain what these renovations are on a school that is currently closed and why this involves $250,000 from the lottery proceeds, or move the agenda item to the regular agenda. Whichever works for you. I appreciate your allowing time for me to express my concerns. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the public this morning at all? They see no one. I'll close the public comments period. Okay, we'll move on to constituent concerns. Does anybody have any constituent concerns this morning? Want to say something, Tommy?
Well, we've had, I'm sure a lot of people's had some calls or questions about the revow. So I think I've been able to answer everybody's questions that's called me and talked to me about it. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to the DOT, the Bridge Maintenance Department. We had the issue with the bridge in the county I was made aware of earlier in the month, and I made a call to the gentleman over that, and they had a crew on that very quickly. I think the same day. It was kind of a safety issue, some standing water, and they got that resolved. So I'll give a shout out to the DOT on that. They did a fine job on that job. So.
Just the same here. I had several calls on the revow, and I think I've answered everybody's questions as well. So a lot of visits to the shop and a lot of phone calls, but overall I think people are starting to understand.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Hey, Kirk or Jennifer?
I don't have any.
Okay. You have anything, Jennifer?
No,
okay.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to administrative agency reports and presentations. We have our annual Community Child Protection Team report, Child Fatality Prevention Team report from HHSA Social Work Division Director Gayla Jones. Welcome, Gayla, this morning.
Good morning. This is our annual reports that we have.
for Community Child Protection Team, and we call it CCPT. It's just easier to say than all of that, so if I refer to it that way, that's what I'm talking about, as well as the Child Fatality Prevention Team, which we call CFPT, just to keep it short. I'm going to do both this year. We've had a little transition. Typically, our health director chairs the CFPT. We've been, with Mr. Johnson retiring and the recent hire, Ms. Sarah Henderson will take that over. But I'm going to do what we did for this year. So I'll start with CCPT. We are mandated by general statute to have both of these teams, and we combined these teams a couple of years ago. So we meet consecutive. We'll have CCPT first and CFPT after that. Most of the members are the same. There are a couple exceptions to the CFPT. So what we do is we just meet as a team, and with CCPT we talk about cases that we may be involved with through Child Protective Services, anything that relates to the protection of children, and we try to, statute says we meet quarterly. Due to COVID, it kind of messed us up in 2020 a little bit. So we did meet in February before COVID, and then afterwards, we met in August and November virtually for those meetings. And just a couple of things that we did during 2020. We did review one active Child Protective Services case in February. We discussed that and then kind of come up with some recommendations or suggestions. And in that particular case, there was a need to involve parents listening to the school messages, particularly middle school, high school, when the principals are sending those out. This one was about social media and was a middle school age child that was struggling with some issues with that. And so, and then we just spoke about concerns, how social media influences children and how that affects their mental health. And we did see with children being at home and doing virtual, those mental health needs grow. Also, myself and the program manager, Pam Montgomery, went to the sheriff's office, spoke to every rotation of deputies about reporting child abuse and neglect. So we did that as well. We have one intensive child fatality review, and the recommendations from it were that we asked the Division of Social Services to evaluate and update the policy on domestic violence and provide some updated training on that, because the one case did contain some domestic violence elements. And then just a collaboration with our agency and REACH to update each other on our services and figure out how we could work together more efficiently. So we did recently have a training with REACH staff for all of our social workers, as well as we are providing training to REACH as far as reporting child abuse and neglect. So that's what an overall summary of CCPT. We'll move to Child Fatality Prevention Team. We also are required to meet quarterly for it. However, with COVID, we were only able to meet, I believe, on one occasion for 2020. And what we do in these meetings, we look over the fatalities for the prior year. So in 2020, we were looking at the fatalities for 2019. It takes that amount of time to gather medical records and look at that child's life to be able to look at, are there any factors to help prevent fatalities in the future? So there are kind of a summary of what we've looked at in the last few years. In 2019, we did have 8 fatalities, and so that is a greater number. And we will be looking this year to catch up some of those. We were able to look at a few of those, but we'll be catching up this year and then continuing our review of 2020, any fatalities. So the recommendations with those were just to ensure the agency workers were aware of CC4C resources and make those referrals accordingly. Provide safe sleep information to parents and caregivers of infants, and we do that throughout child welfare cases, but also through our health department, we're giving that information out. And then we're still continuing the pack and play programs that Mr. Johnson started when he was the health director. And so we hand those out, give those out to families that are in need of a safe sleep arrangement for their infants. Initiative activities and programs to address maternal substance abuse during pregnancy, as well as some prenatal care incentive programs. So those are just a few things that came out of our discussions for our meeting in 2021. And that's a summary of both reports. If you guys have any questions, I'd be willing to answer those, or try to.
Gayla, what age bracket do you consider a child fatality? What is that range?
0 to 18 is what we look at. And then there's a list on there. We don't review if there is any criminal charges with any of the fatalities. We have to wait until those criminal charges are resolved. So there is one pending that we won't review until that occurs.
Gayla, that Pack and Play is a really good program. Do you know how many Pack and Plays we handed out last year total?
I'm not sure the total amount. I believe that we started out with around 150, and I think we've got 20 left. So that is a need. I'm going to be looking at resources to try to get some grant money to purchase some more Pack and Plays. So we will be doing that. So we've handed out a lot. I just handed one out probably within the last month to a grandfather that needed a place for his grandchild to sleep rather than the bed.
I know probably a little more than these other guys do and gals, just being on the board, but if you don't mind, briefly tell them what that is.
Sure. Mr. Johnson, our public health director previously, came up with an initiative to try to provide families with a Pack and Play. So anyone that comes into our agency, whether it's social services or health side, if they do not have a safe sleep arrangement for their infant, we're able to provide those Pack and Plays to them free of no charge. They fill out a form, we talk to them about safe sleep, and then we're able to give those out.
That's wonderful.
So, you're welcome. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming this morning, Gayla.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Our next order of business will be discussion or adjustment of the agenda, and I don't have anything today. Wait a minute. Did I forget something? Oh, yeah, I did. Introduction of new and county employees, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today we have 5 new employees through March 15th to announce. At the library, we have Holly Locke. Sheriff's Office, we have Austin Thomas. And at Health and Human Services, Christina Michael, Sarah Caldwell, and Martha Garvin. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Okay, now we'll move on to discussion adjustment agenda. Does anyone have anything under that item? Okay. Our next order of business will be our consent agenda, and it is lengthy today, but does anyone have any questions about the consent agenda? I can, Mr. Miller asked for us to do, let's move number 7 of the consent agenda to number 2 of the regular agenda, I guess.
I'll make a motion to pull 7 to the regular agenda.
I'll second.
Okay. All right. Tracy? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. That's unanimous. Okay. And Ronnie's here. He can talk to us about that too. So. Okay. So does anybody have any questions on any of the other consent agenda items this morning? At all?
Just one comment. The paving, there's I was talking to the county manager about it earlier, and sometimes there is confusion about the agricultural building, that item number 11. That is over at the test farm. That's the extension service building, that paving there. That's not the fairgrounds. There's sometimes there's confusion. So that is over at the extension service over on Raccoon Road.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I asked the same question there, Ronnie. So. Tommy? Okay.
I'll just note that number 14, to just make a comment on it before we vote on it. I mean, we're approving a budget amendment for $275,000 to appropriate increased revenues from the register of deeds, which is, you know, that just shows you how many houses are being transferred and the values, because of the revenue stamps are what people pay $2 per thousand on the sales price. So for us to budget a certain amount and then all of a sudden have $275,000 more, that is substantial.
Yeah, it goes along with a lot of sales in our community and not a lot of inventory in housing, which are why prices have basically escalated. Does anybody have any other questions about the consent agenda?
One other comment. I think item 12, $15,000 for HVAC for the Pigeon Center.
Yeah.
I think that was a funding stream that was appropriated about, I don't know, it's been a while. I think didn't have a sunset on it and finally got that moving, so that's good to see that finally taking place.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? And hearing that, I'll entertain a motion we can approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. Our next order of business is our regular agenda. And the first item of the regular agenda is to request approval of a resolution requesting the North Carolina Department of Transportation dedicate a portion of Highway 276 from U.S. Highway 19 to Interstate 40 in Haywood County to honor Claude Paul Messer and approve of payment for the administrative fee in the amount of $2,000 to be paid from 2020-2021 budgeted funds. I had received a request from Chief Hollingshead, Bill Hollingshead, for this, and so I put it on, went ahead and put it on our agenda. So this is honoring Mr. Messer, and I will say, I'm on the MPO board, and the MPO board is looking at and has gotten approval let's see, how do I explain that? So Highway 276, this is from what I call, I guess, Delwood there to I-40 there along 276. They're going to they want to name that, and they're going to be doing upgrades in that they're going to be widening the shoulders and fixing turning lanes to where that people can, you know, get off of there safely. So I guess I just wanted to say that even though this has been a tragedy, maybe some good will come from it. The state has definitely put this on the fast track to get this project completed and to help 276 to make it a lot safer there. So we also wanted to honor Mr. Messer because of all his service and time for Jonathan Creek. I know Tim's here, right, Tim? And can attest to that. So Tim works with Jonathan Creek. Did you want to say something, Tim, or anything? No. Okay. Sorry, I'm stammering up here. But does anybody have any questions or comments on that?
I'd just like to say I think it's a great thing to honor Mr. Messer because of all his years of dedication, you know, doing the service that he did. Those guys don't get paid the biggest amount in the world. Of course, they don't, most of the time don't get paid nothing. So to have somebody like that to do this and honor him, I think is a great thing.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion. We approve item 1 of the regular agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. Third. Fourth.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, then we moved the number 7 consent agenda item to number 2 of the regular agenda, and that is to request approval of application to the Public School Building Capital Fund for lottery proceeds to pay for the renovation cost of Central Elementary School K-1 building in the amount of $250,000. So we have Ronnie Clark here this morning from the school board. Did you want to tell us what that's doing? Can you come up, Ronnie, to the... That's what you get for coming out this morning. Mr. Miller just had a question on what y'all were doing.
So you're talking about for the,
Central Elementary, I mean, Central, yeah, it's Central Elementary, right?
is it the part where we're moving the child care down there to the, is that what this money's for? You've lost me on this.
This is for the K through 1 building. As part of the application, we don't get the details of what it is, but that would,
That's what it is.
approving the application.
We're trying to move
Okay.
so the old, our child care building needs a $75,000 renovation for the air conditioning unit plus upkeep, which is the old Haywood Elementary, which has become a money pit, which is the one that Folk Moot would like to buy.
Right.
So we're actually moving the child care down to Central and having it full-time. So that's what that money is for, to finish up that.
Okay.
The building has been vandalized, ripped out, holes in the wall, windows out, weather damage, so we're having to fix all
Gotta
that
get caught up.
also, plus trying to move the central office down there until we get the other building finished. So 2 projects at once going on.
Okay. Okay.
And I think Ms. Horn said this is just for the application. We're approving the application to pull those funds
Right, right. I think the money's already there, right?
right out of the lottery funds, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So we're just applying for that
Yeah,
application
we
to
come
pull that
to,
money.
yeah, we have to ask y'all for, and that's fine. It's a double look at it, make sure we're spending it in the right place. So, yes. Anything else?
Any other questions for Ronnie?
Unless you want to write a few more checks.
We'll write you one. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion that we approve.
You want her to come up and explain that too?
Is-
Everything
Okay.
she said, nobody heard on
Okay,
video
that's true.
or
Go ahead,
TV.
Kristen.
Or maybe
Mr.
Brian
Chairman?
wants to speak, I don't know.
So, sorry, Dr. Putnam couldn't be here. He had a conflict, so he gave me the Cliff's Notes version of this item, so I can review that if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
First in this process, they've reached out to the state consulting structural engineer for school planning and got approval of the project. It's basically what Mr. Clark had said, that because it's been vacant and there's quite a bit of work to do. The projects total about $255,000. It includes plumbing, HVAC work, in-house painting, ceiling tile installation, flooring, cabinetry, insulation installation, and electrical. So all those projects total about $255,000, and they've already worked with the state for approval.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Okay. Okay, so can I entertain a motion that we approve? See, how do I describe that? What was formerly the number 7 of the consent agenda that we moved to the number 2 of the regular agenda? Is that okay, Tracy? Okay. Okay, so I'll entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion that we request approval of application of the Public School Building Capital Fund for lottery proceeds to pay for the renovation cost of Central Elementary School K-1 building in the amount of $250,000.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Okay, anyone opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, then next we'll move to appointments, and we have 4 of those, and I'll let Brian. Do we need to vote on these individually? Okay, we do. Okay. So number 1, Brian.
First is the reappointment of Lisa Bradley to the Area Agency on Aging Regional Advisory Council. We received notice from the Southwestern Commission asking for her reappointment. As you probably know, Ms. Bradley retired from Haywood County. She's worked with these projects for over 3 decades. and she's a huge asset to the Southwestern Commission Committee.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion that we approve appointment number 1.
Make a motion to reappoint Lisa Bradley to
Second.
the Area Council on Aging Advisory Council.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Okay, anyone opposed? Okay. Okay, number 2, Bryant.
This is approval of reappointment of Eugene Sizemore to the Clyde Zoning Board of Adjustments, ETJ. We received an email from Joey Garland back in February saying that the Board of Aldermen recommend him for reappointment to the Board of Zoning Adjustment.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion we approve number 2 of the appointments.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Okay, number 3, Bryant.
First is the reappointment of Kay Kirkman and Rob Rowland, and the appointment of Mark Miller to the Haywood Greenway Advisory Council. Ms. Kirkman and Rowland are reappointments. Mark Miller, this is an appointment. He has a long history of project management and business integration. He's also an avid cyclist and runner. He is a member of the Haywood County Bike Club. He is interested in providing feedback on greenways for cycle, running, and pedestrian friendliness.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion we approve number 3 of appointments.
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
Okay, all those indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. And number 4, Bryant.
Okay. The library board actually met March 24th and interviewed candidates and has recommended Ann Mills to be the newest member of the library board. She feels that libraries are critical to our communities as a place for free information and exchange of ideas. She has experience in the museum field and education, and she thinks that that would be useful for the library board.
Hey, Kirk, you're on that board. Any comments?
Well, Ed was with us for a few years and had moved out of the state, so he had to resign. He was our vice chairman. And the committee that interviewed Ms. Mills was unanimous in picking her. So that's the library board's recommendation.
Okay, so you want to make that as a motion to approve number 4?
I move to approve the appointment of Ann Mills to the Haywood County Library Board of Trustees to fulfill the remaining term of Edward Merritt.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Okay, anyone opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, our next order of business is a closed session, which attorney-client 143-318-11A3, and I'll entertain a motion we go into closed session.
Move that we go into closed session.
Second.
Second.
All those indicate by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Okay, we'll be in closed session when we enter the chambers in the back. Thank y'all.
That's why we went up there. We went up there. Well,
Okay, we returned from closed session. I have, Brian, will you want to comment on the closed session, I guess? Is that how we do that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the workers' comp case, Kathy Sutton versus Haywood County and Sedgwick CMS, Inc., and PA, we've settled the workers' comp case for $22,930.34.
Okay. Okay, and that was the only thing we were going to report, right? That was what we were going to report. Okay. So then I want to recognize Bryant also for a couple of public hearings.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I don't
That's
have
okay.
the cheat
So-
sheet in front of me.
That's okay. I'll just say we're going to announce two public hearings to be held at the next the next regular scheduled Board of Commissioners meeting on Monday, April 19th at 5:30 p.m. to consider economic grant incentives for the following. Premier Magnesia LLC, also known as Giles Chemical, has made an investment of $5 million to expand operations and hired an additional 35 employees. That'll be one public hearing. The other economic incentive grant would be for Sunoco Products Company on an investment of $2.6 million to add a new thermoforming line and hire an additional 15 employees. So the notices of the public hearing will be advertised in the Mountaineer on Wednesday, April 7th. Is that what I'll need to announce right there? Okay. So that'll be our next meeting. Okay. Okay, does anybody have any other business before the board? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion, we adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. 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 Okay, we're adjourned. Everybody be safe out there. Thank you.